Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dose of Common Sense. Now, if common sense is supposed to be so damn common, well, how come it seems like nobody has it? And good evening, everybody. This isn't going to be so much a podcast as it's going to be a little bit of a public service announcement. So, first off, we have to thank our sponsor, which is ORL Telcel, a Metro PCS authorized dealer with two locations, 7870 Calabria Road and 2230 Southeast Military Drive, San Antonio, Texas. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, and I do thank our sponsor, unfortunately we don't have a lot of time to get into this. So I'm going to make this one short and sweet. So the NSA, the FBI, and the CIA have all apparently gotten together and recommended that the general public avoid buying Huawei and ZTE phones. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it in the strongest sense of the word. I think it's BS. And not for the simple fact that I am an employee of Metro PCS, and none of the opinions expressed here are reflective of that of my company, my owner, past, present, or future. Basically, this has something to do with not only common sense, but knowledge of the phones themselves. The smartphones handled by Huawei and ZTE are pretty much based on Android. And Android has a couple of its own security systems that prevent anyone from tampering or absconding with your data. This is assuming, of course, that you have not exploited the phone on your own with rooting or replacing the ROM that came with the phone or some such purpose. So I'll start from reason number one and I'll go down from there. Reason number one, you cannot install a program that's unauthorized by Android unless there is a specific checkmark checked in your settings menu. This would be involving unknown sources. If you check unknown sources, you can do, and this is what we call it, sideload applications. There's a lot of us that do that, and there's a lot of us that don't. And there's a lot of us that don't know what the hell we're doing, and we think we know everything about Android operating systems. Let me explain to you who does. The people that wrote the fucking thing. They know exactly what they're doing. So there isn't too many things that can skip by that to start with, okay? Let's go with reason number two. Reason number two, excuse me, folks, is in Google Play services, there is what's known as Google Play Protect. Now, if this is enabled properly, and it usually is on 90% of the phones I've seen, it normally does a check about once every 6 to 12 hours. And I'm guessing on this, sometimes it's a lot more, sometimes a lot less. Depends on how many updates a phone has to do in a specific day. Now that's roadblock number two. Excuse me. Now roadblock number three for most of these phones is relatively simple, especially if you buy them from T-Mobile, Metro PCS, or any one of us with half a brain and or knowledge of the Google Play Store. There is one application in particular that we use exclusively as a system app. That's called Lookout Antivirus and Theft Protection Software. That is pretty much, that's the last line of defense after it gets through the two already owned and operated by, of course, Android and you, if you have the phone. Needless to say, this is pretty much like a strategic defense system for your smartphone. This is explaining that to those of us who think they're well-known and well-versed in security, and they're not. So, basically it's like this. Most phones that you buy out of a store, there's nothing wrong with them. There's no third party hacked into it automatically that sends anything of anything to anywhere unless you hit the check mark. And the only thing that sends it at that point to is Google. Now, there are third party applications that once you check that box that says you can sideload applications, and there are a couple of things that you can download off of Facebook. Here's a big clue. Don't do it. That can technically go around and obtain the permissions to go into the system. The biggest problem of which is CM Launcher. Anybody installs this thing as any kind of an app, they kind of deserve what they get. And I'm not going to have any sympathy on that one except for just to look for it and uninstall it. Now, I will say this, and this is why it's going to be a little bit short. What I would simply do is if you have any questions in regards to any software on your phone at all, bring it in to the people that you bought it from. If they are knowledgeable enough, they will go into the applications, they can look, and they can see if anything looks suspect. And then from that point, we can act from there. Let's not go off on these half-truths and not go off on this cockamamie theory of, ooh, we found one particular case in 2011 where ZTE or Huawei was quote-unquote sending information back to the Chinese government. Number one, that's bullshit. Number two, makes no sense whatsoever. And number three, it just don't happen that way. So if there's a question about your ZTE or Huawei phone that you have, and there's an app that you're kind of like, ooh, I don't recognize this, take the phone, immediately go into where you bought it from and have them look through it. Or if you know that they don't know what they're looking for, contact someone who does. This is not the time for panic. This is the time for common sense. Let's all just exercise it. You know, this is a situation that started out with a supposed phone launch at CES, and I really feel bad for Huawei on this one because they got royally hosed. Last time I recall, nobody was threatening to do an 18-month embargo on them. And they weren't ordering parts from Iran, and there's my stance on it. Like I said, my views do not reflect the opinion of my employer, past, present, or future. I can say what I want on this. This whole situation is really, really hosed. I don't believe any of it. And like I said, exercise some common sense. At the end of the day, I think common sense will win out on this. I don't think the proposed bans by our political leaders are going to necessarily pass. And this might be rambling and long, but I felt like I had to get something out there before the tech media. Not that it's their fault because they're just simply doing their job, but this is all in reference to a bunch of government individuals that all they do is look at Huawei ZTE, look at China, and look at, oh shit, we're being spot. No, you're not. Know what flavor the Kool-Aid is before you all fucking jump in it, okay? This panic situation is absolute crap. You all know, or at least some of you know, how a smartphone works. Even though you guys don't read the bills to save your ass, you all know how the phone works. And if you don't, maybe you shouldn't have a smartphone. Maybe if you don't, someone should just hand you a flip phone. Because quite honestly, I honestly don't know. 3 agencies of government coming up with this mess. Yeah, no. No. I think a 3-year-old would know more about the Android operating system than you at this point. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I thank you for your time. I wish everybody luck. I really do. And if you have an opinion or if you have a comment, feel free to send a tweet at TechFiles Media. Or if you feel like talking to me personally, you can send a tweet at RekedTech. RekedTek. Love to hear from you. May not get back to you immediately, but I definitely would love to hear any feedback on this. So, like I said, it is named the Dose of Common Sense for a reason. I think in light of this, we're going to probably leave the title in its place. And thank you once again to our sponsor, ORL Telcel, MetroPCS authorized dealer. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for now. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we will catch you all later.